Oh, and you're going to be on Facebook Live. Hope
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's very handsome.
Oh, that's good. That's the most important thing.
Hey.
Hey.
Will these be mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, this is Sam, our summer
Hey, Sam,
intern.
how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Sam, this is Paul. He's a musician in New Haven.
Wow, just admiring your guitar. Very cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
He's so talented, and he has a show tonight at Never Ending Books for $10. $5.
Yep. What kind of guitar is that?
Even better.
The brand is called DBZ, and it has since been discontinued since I bought it about 4 years ago. Yeah.
That just makes it more baller.
Absolutely, yes.
You can't
It's hard to
find.
find.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Feel free to take a minute. You'll hear the little ditty from John Stone, if you knew John while he was here.
I don't know if I have. I don't really have to hold my guitar the whole time, so I won't do that.
Up to you. Up to you. Completely up to you. I'm just going to share.
I will too.
So the Facebook Live video. Okay. And let me know when you're feeling good, and we'll get going.
Sure, I feel great.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I can look at you.
Yay! So I am here. This is Kitchen Sink with Lucy Gellman. That's me. I'm here in the studio live, which is really exciting. I don't get to do that much anymore. With Paul Belbusti.
Belbusti. Yep.
Awesome. And Paul, I'm going to ask you to kiss the mic. It's like we're in a poetry slam. Hello.
Hi, folks.
So Paul is a man of many, many talents. You are
thank you.
a librarian at Yale. You are a dad. You're a sommelier. And you are in Mercy Choir.
That's right.
Which has a weekly, I almost said weekly residency. That's maybe too much.
It would be too much.
It has a monthly residency at Never Ending Books, which is a great little used bookstore in East Rock that doubled as the Bernie Sanders campaign headquarters. And I think has maybe been like a psychic portal and had a couple other roles during its existence in New Haven.
Right. It is many things and also nothing.
And today we're on the air to talk about how the residency, which I believe is now in its 10th month or 11th month?
Something like that. July is a year.
Yeah. So it's like, you've basically grown it past, it's more than a baby now.
That's right.
It can walk around and
Absolutely.
stuff like that, eat solid foods.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about how the residency has matured, the show that's coming up. So you have two shows coming up. One is tonight, May 26th. 25th, 26th, what is today? The 26th.
It's the 26th,
Yeah. At Never Ending Books. And then Mercy Choir also has a huge party coming up at Lyric Hall on June 2nd.
That's correct.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but since it's a show about food, we're also going to talk about food. Are your headphones okay?
I think they are, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I want to get right into the music first and then segue to recipes.
Great.
So do you have a song? I asked you to come with a couple songs. Do you have a song for us?
Sure, I can play a song. You want me to do that now?
Yeah, I'd
Sure.
love that.
Okay,
I'd love
cool.
that. So and maybe tell our listeners a little bit about what the piece is
Okay.
that they are about to hear.
Okay. Today I wanted to bring in some food things to talk about that have affected my life and changed the way I thought about food and the way I thought about cooking. And I think I also am going to play 4 songs that have similar significances in my life as a songwriter. So this one is it's called "Ballad of a Birdwatcher." It's a song I don't play too much anymore, but it is a song that I think probably technically was the first Mercy Choir song, probably written around 2005 or so.
Oh, so this is vintage.
It's vintage, yeah. And I think that after I wrote this one, that's kind of when I knew what direction I wanted Mercy Choir to go in and what sort of songwriter I wanted to be. So anyway, I haven't played it in a few years, so bear with me, folks.
Beautiful. Here we go.
Okay. I found a way to be in love. Just point your fingers at the doves. They'll swoop right down, taste your blood. And I found a way to be in love. And I made a choice about the sky. There's no reflection in his eye. I still think God is a nice guy. I made a choice about the sky. There's something wrong with all my friends. They smile away while I pretend, and they save the letters that I send. There's something wrong with all my friends. I stuck a feather in my cap and called it an ugly piece of crap. I hope heaven exists, but when I take that long cat nap, and I found a way to be loved. Ignore the signs and feed the doves. They'll sing you songs that you're proud of, and they'll make you wear a metal glove. If there is love, give me a shove. I like the sky, give me a shove. I found a way, give me a shove. And I found a way, hip, hip, hooray.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Are you a bird watcher?
I am what would be considered, I guess, a bird enthusiast. I have a lot of songs about birds. I love birds. I like talking about them and looking at them, but I hesitate to learn too much about them because I feel like I would either go to the extreme where I would become an insane bird watcher who just guy was walking around with binoculars and a camera constantly taking pictures of birds. I like to retain a little bit of mystery, so I like to say, oh, that's a pretty bird over there. I wonder what that is. And just
there are a couple of those in New Haven. There are some really avid
Right.
bird watchers who I think make the community a little bit richer. But okay, so one thing I wonder is of the sort of recipes that you brought in, do any have to do with birds?
Yes.
Okay.
One of them involves a dead bird's wings.
A dead bird. Okay,
Yeah.
because one thing I I tend to wonder about. So I'm a vegetarian. I'm trying to do veganism for health reasons.
Okay.
But folks say to me, "Well, is it because you can't bring yourself to eat an animal?" And it's more because my parents were hippy dippy people. They are hippy dippy people, and so we never ate a lot of meat growing up, so it wasn't very hard for me. But I've also had people say, "Well, I read Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer, and now I will never eat an animal again." And so I was so curious if your affection for birds ever gets in the way of cooking a bird.
It does occasionally. I cannot reconcile my feeling about eating animals.
Really?
I actually do feel that it is morally wrong to eat animals when we have the opportunity to not eat animals and survive without it. So I cannot reconcile that part of myself. And all I can say is that I do feel better when I eat meat. However, I know that if I stopped eating meat and adjusted my diet, I would, go back to normal health or perhaps better health. But I guess it's a matter of laziness and probably just being a bad person.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well,
But
other
yeah.
people would differ with you probably.
Okay, so
My
let's
sister would differ with you. I think
let's
she
talk
thinks I'm a
about
bad
this.
person.
Is this the same sister on whom there was an April Fool's joke at some point?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's spreading. The April Fool's joke is
So
spreading.
I'm actually wondering if maybe later in the episode we can tell listeners this April Fool's joke.
Okay, my sister will get really mad, but I'll still do it.
That's fantastic. But for now, I want to stick with the birds.
Okay.
So you said wings.
Yes.
So I'm guessing it's a chicken, but I could
They are
be
chicken
wrong.
wings, indeed.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell me about these chicken wings, because everyone has their own chicken wing recipe.
Okay, I am going to tell you about a chicken wing revelation that I have had in the past year, and my family has had in the past year.
Okay.
Which is that, first of all, my chicken wings are one of the things my son will eat. So
how old is your son?
he just turned 4.
Oh, wow.
So we have to kind of stick with, a 5-thing rotation, a 5-meal rotation of things that he'll actually eat.
Yeah.
So we found that he likes chicken wings. So these chicken wings are, I believe, probably, this may be the healthiest chicken wing recipe on the planet Earth. I feel that chicken wings are only great if they are fried. And
Okay.
And then slathered in sauce, of course.
My grandmother would agree.
Yes. If there was a way to make baked chicken wings that were as crispy as fried wings, I think more people would do it. And I've experimented many times with baked chicken wings, as have many people. But there is one man who has the courage to experiment and try new things, and that is Mr. Kenji Lopez Alt of Serious Eats.
Yes.
He has come up with through science and trial and error, has come up with a brilliant way to bake chicken wings using no oil at all, and the skin comes crispy and just as satisfying as delicious fried chicken wings. And it could not be more simple, and I highly recommend it for folks who are interested in chicken wings.
But okay, you have to tell us more about this.
Okay, yes, here's the recipe. It only takes about a minute to explain. You take your chicken wings, you put them in a bowl. If you have 1 pound of chicken wings, which generally is how they're sold, 1 or 1 1/4 pounds. So per pound of chicken wings, you're going to take 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder per pound. Sprinkle them all over your wings, toss to coat, lay them on a baking sheet or a wire wrap baking sheet or whatever you want to call those things, and put it in a refrigerator, preferably overnight, but in an hour is also fine. And I think what happens through science is sort of they dehydrate or something in some weird way. You bake them for 20 minutes, then you flip them, then you bake them again for 20 minutes, and when they look done, they're done, and they are crispy and as delicious as fried chicken, and you've used no oil, and then you could put whatever sauce you would like on them. So it is a quite brilliant way and very easy way to cook delicious, somewhat healthy chicken wings.
Huh. That's great. And okay, so I also have a question. So I am not a parent yet, and I have no desire to be a parent, but I think kids are really cool and also really funny.
Okay.
And so, but especially the issue of eating. So I work with a couple young kids every week through New Haven Reads, and when food comes up, it sometimes leads to the funniest discussions that we have. So my question is, I've met kids who are like totally down with eating meat until they make the association between the live animal that they're eating and then what's on their plate.
Right.
And has that ever come up for your son?
I think he has made the connection before because we've discussed the fact that it's a chicken, and we've discussed the fact that it's their wing, and he likes chickens when we go to the farm and goes to look at them, but he will grab that chicken wing and devour it, and he doesn't really think twice about it. As he gets older and makes the connection more, we'll see how he feels, morally about it. But as of now, he doesn't seem to care very much.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So I want to, before we go into another song and talk a little bit about the residency, I just want to remind listeners, if you're just joining us, this is Kitchen Sink on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. I'm Lucy Gellman, and I'm here with Paul Belbusti. He is a member of Mercy Choir, a librarian, a dad, a chef, a sommelier at one point in your life, and maybe we'll get into that too. So a man of many talents, and we're experiencing music and food and so far I've gotten a great recipe for baked chicken wings that maybe I'll make if the meat-eating members of the family who kind of have to have that hunk of dead animal on their plate
Yes.
When they come to town, because it doesn't sound horribly offensive to make. But Paul, I kind of want to take a step back from the chicken for a minute and talk about this residency before we get into the next song.
Sure.
So tell listeners, so Jake Brussels Faria, who was one of our great interns last summer, actually wrote about the very first concert that Mercy Choir did at Neverending Books, which was at the end of July, I think July 29th, 2016. And so tell me about how the residency started and where it's gone since then.
Well, the reason why I started having my band do a residency at Neverending Books is last year, my good friend and wonderful songwriter Liz Galorn did a variety show at Neverending Books for 1 month in March. We did every Friday of the month, and it was kind of just a variety show with various acts, and our own projects played, and it was so intimate and wonderful, and the crowds were great. And it's always an attentive audience at Neverending Books, and it's also, you can play louder than you think in there, so it can feel like a rock show if you want it to. It could feel like a comedy show, it could feel like a poetry show. It's a really versatile place to put on an event. And the residency went really well, and during the last night of that particular variety show residency thing, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if I just played here with Mercy Choir every month and kind of stopped going crazy trying to book shows here, there, and everywhere, and kind of make life a little easier for myself. But it would also give me a chance to have different opening acts every month of my various friends, bands, and people I admire, and people I've always wanted to play with, and just have them do really intimate shows, and also be able to kind of be in control of the door and how much money I give to those people, which in this town, giving them anything is really welcome, I find. So I always feel good about that. And it's been going really well. And Mercy Choir tends to be kind of, I guess it's sort of my solo project, but it changes kind of by the day and by the week and by the month especially. So I knew every show would be completely different. Like, for instance, tonight is a solo show. It's the first time I've done a solo show for this particular residency, but sometimes only a couple members of Mercy Choir can make it. We currently have 6 people in the band, so it's a big band, and everyone in the band plays different instruments, and we have lots and lots and lots of songs. So I know that I'm able to provide a different experience every month, so it seemed like a natural thing to do. And the only thing in New Haven that really reminded me of it that's happened before is the late, great James Velvet, a wonderful songwriter and should be the crown king of New Haven forevermore, who passed away a couple of years ago. His band, the Mockingbirds, did a residency at Cafe 9 for many years. And so in a way, I feel like it's a tribute to him because he is the greatest guy ever.
So I know that you'll be playing a solo set for this month, so we're in May. So I'm wondering if you can play another piece for our listeners.
Sure, I would love to.
Great.
Yep. This song I chose to play, it's called More Than Ever. It's a new song, and I guess it fits into the kind of change my perception kind of thing, because it is a extremely poppy song that has sort of an interesting vocal melody, which is not really my strength as a songwriter. So much like the chicken wings, after I wrote this song, I said, oh, I can do this thing a different way, this thing being songwriting. So anyway, this is More Than Ever.
now, listen to my little song. Hold me now, I need it more than ever. Hold me now, I need it more than ever. Spin me like a top and watch me fall. Drop me back up against the wall. Hold me now. Hold me now. Hold me now. Hold me now. Treat me right, even though I treat you wrong. Hold me now. Listen to my little song. Hold me now. I need it more than ever. Hold me now. I need it more than ever.
I like that.
Thank you.
I've heard that one before. So I should say, is this off of Like a Fountain Stirred as well, or is this off of an even more recent?
That song is going to be on a recent album that we are going to record, I think, in the fall.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So we should also say Like a Fountain Stirred, I think, is your most recent. Yes?
It is indeed, yep.
And maybe...
I should also probably also mention that tonight is going to be a very special solo set.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For secret reasons or for reasons?
For secret reasons.
Oh.
Probably only exciting to maybe me, but maybe like 3 other people. But anyway, yes, Like a Fountain Stirred is my most recent.
That's so exciting. So I want to talk a little about this song, not just because you said that poppy melodies are maybe not your thing. Usually they're not. Well, I guess now they're in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I find writing vocal melody difficult. It's not one of my strengths as a songwriter.
But it's also, I mean, so it has. I noticed better lyrics and kind of a better hook than probably 99.99% of the pop songs out there,
Oh, wow.
which I think is also very often the case of small independent musicians or music groups who just don't get their due.
Mm-hmm.
But also, tell me about how this recipe or how this song, the formula for which is not totally unlike a recipe maybe, fits into the idea of it, like, this is kind of like being in a couple. It's sort of it's a cozy song. It has some interesting lyrics. How all of those sort of fit together.
Well, you're asking how the song, like the pieces of the song, how they come together to...
Well, and I mean that, but also, like, did you write it with a specific person or a specific couple
no,
in mind for it?
No, it's not about anyone in particular. The main, well, I guess this is maybe a little bit interesting, but that song structure I call a Ringo song structure. I kind of break down song structures. That's my thing that I do for songwriting. And I call it a Ringo song structure because a lot of the songs that either Ringo wrote for his solo career and also the songs that he sang, Beatles songs that he sang, don't really have verses. They just have choruses and like bridge kind of things. So the Hold Me Now, Listen to My blah, blah, blah. I think of as sort of the chorus of the song. However, it's in the place of the verse. So the song is like mostly hook, hook, hook.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Octopus's Garden. It's just like, I like to be under the sea in Octopus's garden in the shade. That's kind of more of a chorus than a verse to me.
Right. Which I think people either love or they hate. I mean, my strongest memory of that song is my mother driving her beat up Honda Accord, I don't know, somewhere with us in the backseat, and the song came on, and she said, "This is the worst song ever, ever." What a stupid song. And so, but other folks say, "Oh, this is one of the greatest songs ever composed."
I don't think it's either the worst or the greatest song.
It's right there in the middle.
Yeah, but I think it's an essential piece of Beatles history and Abbey Road, the Abbey Road album.
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you about, because when I first heard this. Oh, I first heard the song with the band performing it last month. I think at Neverending Books, or maybe
Okay.
it was 2 months ago, at Neverending Books. And even though the hook is maybe not like the coziest couples hook, um, it was like I was there with my partner. We were
Mhm.
holding hands. It was very sweet and mushy and disgustingly cute. Blah blah blah. But but it leads me to ask the question. So like, what would the cozy food equivalent for you be? I guess.
Good segue because I have a cozy recipe.
Okay, I want to hear it.
I am of Italian American descent.
Excellent.
So the most important item in our repertoire is tomato sauce.
Okay.
I know that some Italian Americans will tell you that in their family it's called gravy, but in none of my families or my wife's families was it ever called gravy.
I've
That is
actually
to
never
my
heard
knowledge.
gravy.
Okay. A lot of people say that their families call it gravy. That was not the
Interesting.
case in my family. It was always called sauce or tomato sauce. And the essential components in a tomato sauce, generally, and again, Italians from this area of New Haven don't really distinguish between marinara or meat sauce or whatever. It's just sauce, like it's Sunday sauce. It would be olive oil, garlic, probably some kind of sausage or meat to start the sauce, as my mom would say, start the sauce. After my mom stopped eating meat, she would start her sauce with spinach because she has to have something to start the sauce with. Some people put onion, and then you would put your can of tomatoes in. Some people would add water and some herbs like basil, or you could add basil towards the beginning. So my family, my wife's family, has always made a variation of this sauce. My good friend Chris's family has always made a variation of the sauce with olive oil, garlic, etc. And that is the way you make sauce. However, I got a text about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago from my friend Chris, who is also of Italian descent, and he said, you have to stop making sauce the way that you think you have to make sauce and just try this recipe. Don't tell anyone what's in it. Just do it. It's really good. You're not going to believe it, and you will make this recipe for the rest of your life.
And did you, at the time, feel like this was blasphemous? Because
I still think it's blasphemous.
Because there are some things I know, or I think every big family with sort of a cultural heritage. So on my side, it's Russian Jewish. On my dad's side, but if you mess up like Nani's recipe, or I guess Nona's recipe, and for an Italian family, like you have left a dark mark on the family name.
Yes. I would not, if I serve this to my wife's grandparents, I would not tell them what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the sauce.
Okay, this is a Marcella Hazan sauce. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I know that this is, I assume, some sort of a variation on some kind of traditional Italian sauce that is not Italian American in any way, shape, or form. And it's extremely strange sounding, at least to me. But every time I make it, it's delicious. Every time someone tries it, they comment on how good it is. It's nearly impossible to screw up, and it's just unbelievably great. You take your can of tomatoes, preferably whole peeled tomatoes in their juices, and you dump them into a pot. No olive oil, just throw the tomatoes right in. Then you take 5 tablespoons of butter, and put that right in. Then you cut an onion in half and stick the onion in, and you let that simmer for 45 minutes, and that is your sauce, and you remove and discard the onion.
Oh my gosh, you don't leave it in there, you don't take it out and mince it?
Nothing. In half, and then you remove it and discard it.
So does it feel blasphemous partly because, when I was...
Everything about it feels blasphemous.
I mean, okay, so, but this is part of the question is, so Italy is part of what's, there's like an invisible line in Europe, and if you're above, and it's called the olive line, and if you're above the olive line, you cook with butter.
Right.
And that's where you get those like heavy German dishes.
Sure.
If you're below the olive line, you cook with olive oil. And so is that part of what feels...
It is part of it. I should also say, though, that what Italian Americans do, particularly Northeast Italian Americans do, has very little to do with anything that happens in Italy. So it shouldn't really feel that blasphemous. But yes, cooking with butter is not something that my family really dig. It's olive oil.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how often would you say that you make this?
At least once a week, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's the go-to sauce. My wife has used it to make lasagna. I've used it for homemade pizza. Of course, a little salt and pepper goes a long way.
Of course.
If your tomatoes are acidic, it's okay to add a pinch of sugar. But otherwise, don't mess with this recipe. Don't say, well, let me try it with olive oil, or let me try it with duck fat, or let me try it with something. That's not the recipe. The recipe is tomatoes, 5 tablespoons of butter, and an onion cut in half.
And how much does it make?
About enough for 3/4 of a box of pasta.
Wow.
Yeah. So and doubling the recipe also works very well.
And has it ever inspired you to do something song-worthy? Like is this something that you swoon over to such a degree that you thought, I need to lyricize this pasta?
Nah, I don't think I really sing about food. I do write poetry and things of that nature, and food does come up a lot.
Oh wow. Do you have one memorized? Sure.
No, I don't think I do. I had a chapbook that was released a couple of years ago called Lucy, actually. That's the name of the chapbook. It's not about you or anyone real, but there is food mentioned a lot, and particularly clams, razor clams.
Oh,
and tomatoes also play a part in that.
Also,
yeah,
I mean, clams are also kind of a New England.
That's right.
thing.
Yeah, clams are an important part of my life.
That's good. Usually Lucy is associated with like the name of someone's dead dog. So I appreciate, now I can say, oh, I have a poetry chapbook.
I feel like I need to give you a copy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you want to maybe queue up to do another song? And I'm going to remind listeners that this is Kitchen Sink on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, your home for community radio. I'm your host, Lucy Gellman, and today I am in the studio with Paul Belbusti. He is a man of many, many talents, including, I would say, the maybe head honcho of Mercy Choir.
That's right.
Is that fair?
Yeah, dictator.
Yeah, the benevolent dictator, though.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are talking music and food and Mercy Choir's residency at Never Ending Books, which is on the last Friday of every month. If you're listening to this live, you will notice that today, May 26th, is in fact the last Friday of the month. If you're listening to this at a later broadcast, you've missed this month, but luckily it goes all year, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon, which I'm very happy about.
We are going to take a break in August. I'm taking a everything vacation in August.
An everything vacation.
Yes,
that
I need an
sounds.
everything vacation.
Oh man, an everything hiatus sounds great.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Are we? Good to go?
I just need one more second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of live radio.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, it's great.
My guitar doesn't love this weather that is either freezing or really hot.
Yeah. Or you get the kind of like it's wet and cold, but also humid at the same time.
Okay, this is good enough for rock and roll. This is the first song on Like a Fountain Stirred, and it's called, let me situate myself here, it's called Friendly Fire. Please allow me to repeat your name. All the songs about you sound the same. Gloria, Gloria. Let the evening sun render your ghost. Let your blood wash over every coast. Gloria, Gloria. Where is the captain of this foggy island? And where is the razor that can cut away the underbrush?
Where is the picture of you I had hidden in my pocket? And where is your whispering voice, so pure and so fine, promising sweetly your sins are much different than mine? Gloria, Gloria. But something about the way she loves me makes me better. Something about the way she holds me makes me better. Makes me better. Makes me better.
Snaps. I don't know if the. I think my mic.
I like the
is
snaps.
better. Yeah, it's like we're at a poetry slam, kind of. Except it's much better, and there are fewer like rib cages exploding and people being needlessly exploited. So one thing I thought about when I was listening to that is totally a song that I would hear in Cafe 9. And in fact, I have heard Mercy Choir perform at Cafe 9, although not that piece. Or some like dark bar where the beer and maybe the wine is really good. So I want to transition. See how I did that?
I like it very much.
No, but I want to transition to the fact that you also have this really interesting background in being a sommelier.
Right. That term is loaded because a sommelier implies service, the service of wine. The courses that I took, is at the American Sommelier Association in New York City, and it does get into service, but it's more about general wine education.
Okay.
And I completed those courses. But I always feel a little bit weird about being called a sommelier because I've never worked in a restaurant and I would never, which is one of the reasons why I'm not in wine anymore, is because all the jobs that are in wine, sort of I kept ticking off my box like, nope, never want to do that. Nope, never want to do that. But I have worked in the wine business quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think one thing, especially for the over 21 crowd, if folks out there are listening who are over 21, I think our like 7 to 10 listeners at any given time probably are over 21. Is that you go to a bar, you get a drink, and then you listen to usually some really good music. If you're in New Haven, we have a great music scene.
For sure.
And so I'm interested if that's something you think about, or if there's a recipe that you brought in. I saw that at some point you had made some like simple syrup or some cocktail.
I've made vermouth before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about making vermouth. So maybe do you have some secrets that you could?
Well, I've only made it the one time, or
Okay.
maybe twice, and it was a few years ago. I used a recipe that's easily found online. I think it may have actually been another Serious Eats recipe.
Okay.
And it was not terribly difficult. It is an excellent use for if you're someone like me who people think that you want wine as a gift, and unfortunately no one knows anything about wine, so they give me really bad wine. And so I use the wine to make vermouth. Vermouth is an excellent way to use wine that you have no interest in drinking.
And then do you use it to cook? Or
I have used it to cook. This was a sweet vermouth, which is not as versatile in cooking as dry vermouth is. But I use it in cocktails.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, vermouth is an essential part of like a Manhattan, for instance.
Yeah. So is there a wine related recipe that you brought with you or that you're interested in sharing?
My other recipes that we're going to share are quite like pedestrian recipes and
That's
have nothing to do with
fantastic.
wine. But I have two of them. One of them is a very simple, not at all wine related thing, and it's another kind of ridiculously simple thing that kind of changed my household.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I should say I love pedestrian recipes, and I think
Me too.
I think especially if you think about the movie Ratatouille, which in fact is it? Have you seen this
I
movie?
have not seen it.
Okay, it's a great movie.
I'm sure I will.
It's a great movie for kids.
Yeah.
There's an animated rat running across the screen, so I'd recommend it, and it's
Okay.
very kid friendly
Great.
too. But that is a dish that uses wine, but it's a peasant food. It has its
Of
origins
course, yeah.
in very, very simple French food. So I love talking about recipes that are kind of about simplicity, because one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that you and all of the other members of Mercy Choir are also grown-ups.
Yeah.
You have full-time jobs.
Correct.
I think all or most of you have families.
4 out of 6 of us have children.
Yeah. And that's really time consuming. So
Yes.
simple recipes are kind of this unglamorous but necessary thing that normal people have to deal with. And so I'd love to hear one of your simple recipes.
Okay, so this is, again, we're going, I feel like a broken record about Serious Eats, but this is another Serious Eats thing that it was a game changer for my family, and also is just as, if not even more simple than the wing recipe, which is, it's a macaroni and cheese recipe.
Interesting. I feel like we should say this this episode is not brought to you by Serious Eats.
No, it's not. No.
Although, who knows, they could be a potential sponsor.
That's absolutely true, yeah. This mac and cheese recipe is something that is so simple to do and is so much better than boxed mac and cheese. There really is no reason to ever buy boxed mac and cheese. And I'm speaking directly to families out there who buy boxed mac and cheese for maybe it's one of the things that their children eat regularly. This is real cheese that's in this mac and cheese, and it's so simple to make. So what you do is you take your, it's 6, 6, and 6. This is what you have to remember, the number of the beast. 6 ounces of pasta, 6 ounces of cheese, and 6 ounces of evaporated milk. So what you want to do is take your 6 ounces of pasta and put it in your pot and just cover it with water, not any more higher than like a quarter of an inch over the pasta. And you want to boil that medium-high heat until the water is almost completely evaporated. The pasta is going to soak up all that starchy good stuff.
Oh, wow. How long does that usually take?
A few minutes.
Oh, wow.
It happens very quickly. And that's the other thing about this recipe is it's almost as quick as boxed mac and cheese. Then you want to add your evaporated milk, 6 ounces, and stir that up. Then you want to add your shredded cheese of your choice, preferably something that melts really well and is gooey, cheddar or American cheese, anything like that. 6 ounces, and you blend that in, and it's going to turn into a conglobulation of delicious mac and cheese, and it's going to be better than any boxed mac and cheese you've ever had.
And are you keeping heat on for the whole time?
Yeah, heat's on the whole time. Heat's on the whole time. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. And is that also something that your son will eat? So mac and cheese and chicken wings?
He, strangely, being a little Italian boy, does not love pasta.
Interesting.
Yeah, so once in a while he'll have a few bites of mac and cheese. This is mostly for my wife and I, in the hopes that when we want junk food, and also in the hope that it'll be something that he will eventually eat, which I know one day he's going to beg for mac and cheese. So.
Yeah, well, and it's also a whole food. On the show before, a couple guests, including Mubarak Ibrahim, who makes bean pie, so it's a different beast entirely, has talked about the importance of sort of, if you're going to have junk food, make it whole junk food, and not uber processed stuff with soybean oil and.
These are all ingredients that you have in your cupboard, and they're all easily identifiable.
Yeah, and it. I don't know. Does it make you feel ooey gooey and warm?
Oh, it's wonderful.
All good inside.
Yes, it's absolutely wonderful. I have friends who are also in love with this recipe, and it's great.
That's great. So I'm wondering if you can play us a song that makes us feel ooey gooey and warm inside.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be. It can also make us feel cold and.
It's more likely that it'll make you feel cold. If
Colder
it's a
than
Mercy Choir
little
song.
gray, yeah.
This is Ooey Gooey. This is an old Mercy Choir song. It's the very first Mercy Choir album, and it's something that we've been playing for many years, probably over 10 years now. and people still like it. So it's called Sing and Cry.
There's nothing left inside of her. There's nothing left inside. Whoa, whoa. Two babies from America. Two babies from America. Oh, whoa. They sing and cry. Oh, they sit and smile. Oh, she smoked her final cigarettes. She smoked her final cigarettes. Oh, whoa. There's nothing to be said about. There's nothing we can't say. Whoa, whoa. They sing and cry. Oh, they sit and smile. Oh, they sing and cry. Oh. Whoa. They sing and smile. Oh, they sit and smile. Oh, they sing and cry. Oh, they sit and smile. Oh. Cha, cha, cha.
I like that.
Thank you.
And what's the name again? The title?
Sing and Cry.
Okay, so Sing and Cry from Paul Belbusti and of Mercy Choir. As our time winds down, I want to remind listeners, if you're just joining us or if you've been with us for about 45 minutes, this is Kitchen Sink on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. I'm Lucy Gellman, your host, and I'm here with Paul Belbusti. We're talking about Mercy Choir's residency at Never Ending Books, music, food, and their June 2nd show at Lyric Hall. So, Paul, I want to hear this last simple recipe.
Okay.
But then also, I just want to kind of wind down by talking about, what we can expect from the group, not just if you're listening to this tonight, so May 26th, but on June 2nd, you have this kind of party at Lyric Hall. It's always a party at Lyric Hall.
Yeah, it's always a party at Lyric Hall. It's always a party at a Mercy Choir show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's going to be with two other incredible bands, both bands that are chock full of local New Haven legends. We're talking about a band called Happy Ending, and we're talking about a band called the Jelly Shirts. Both bands have been around for many, many, many years and feature members that are extremely important parts of New Haven music history. And I don't want to make them sound super old, but they're wonderful people that are essential components of the New Haven music scene, and we're so excited to be playing with both those bands because we love them so much.
And then as far as the last simple recipe, because I do want to share
So it's
this.
not as simple, but anyway, go ahead.
I mean, partly because it's a show about food, but also because I think, in the constellation of like if you're a working artist, if you also have a job, if you there are all of these moving parts, and then also you have to get dinner on the table.
Right.
And I remember growing up with Peg Bracken's The I Hate to Cook book, if you've ever seen it, and then all sorts of 15-minute meal cheats, and so I like sharing that with listeners.
Mm-hmm. This is really, I hope that this doesn't throw things off too much, but This is just a sort of a shout out, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about this recipe that I don't fully know how to make nor understand.
Excellent.
But an important part, a thing that I love about New Haven so much, and a thing that I love about New Haven kind of cultural and ethnic food, is that New Haven Italians are different than any other Italians, particularly with food, but also the way that we pronounce things and the way that we do things. And I think that this is a very New Haven-y Italian localized dish that I do not know how to make. I've never made it before, but my mom makes better than anyone on the planet.
Oh, wow.
And it is called spaghetti and crab sauce.
Which yeah, okay. So talk a little bit about this. There was actually a piece on this in the Boston Globe.
Oh, really? I'm
By,
sure that they have no idea what they're talking about.
Well, it was by a Connecticut freelance
Okay.
writer who lives close by, Jocelyn Ruggiero, who
Okay.
is known as, I think, the Foodie Fatale,
Okay.
and she's a blogger. She's very talented. But tell me about this crab sauce.
Yeah. So first, I should say today is my parents' 40th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations, Paul's parents.
Happy anniversary! I don't
Happy
know if they're
anniversary.
listening. Hopefully they're having a lot of fun today and doing something outside. But so my mom makes this recipe. It's one of the few things. She's got like 5 things in her rotation that she does not need to look at a recipe. She just kind of has it memorized. And I've asked her how you do it before, and I know that I'd never be able to replicate it. But what it is basically is it's whole crabs, blue crabs. My mom will only get them from T&J Supermarket in East Haven. If they come from anywhere else, it for some reason is not good enough, or it doesn't taste the same as my mom's recipe. I'm sure that these crabs from T&J's are exactly the same as every other crab that you get at any other grocery store in Connecticut, but for some reason that's where you go to get the crabs. And I believe the crabs are first kind of sauteed in olive oil with garlic and crushed red pepper and I think fresh parsley, which I don't think my mom has ever used to cook otherwise, or would ever use to cook otherwise.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So fresh parsley. There's a slight chance it might be actually oregano, but anyway, nobody tried to cook this because you won't be able to cook it like my mom. So, but anyway, it's probably parsley. And then I think you just dump tomatoes in it, and you make your sauce. No butter, of course, like the Marcel sauce, but salt and pepper, and you let it simmer for a long time. And what you have is tomato sauce that is kind of crab infused. And what happens is you sit down at the table with your family, and usually half the table is disgusted by what you're doing because you have whole crabs on your plate, and the other half is kind of eating the pasta as a kind of after the fact. It's kind of just there. But the main event is the sauce, and if you have bread, you're dipping bread, of course, because Italians need more carbs. Pasta is not enough carbs, you need bread too. And so you also have the actual crab, which doesn't really have much meat left inside at that point, but you are still making a fool of yourself and ripping the crab apart and kind of smearing the sauce on your face, and there's a roll of paper towels on the table, and that's the proper way to eat spaghetti and crab sauce.
Wow.
Yeah, if you ever want to learn more about it, I invite any listener to come to my parents' house. My mom will cook it for you.
I was going to say, that's amazing. So we're wrapping up here.
Okay.
Paul, I want to thank you. It sounds like we're all going to dinner at your mother's house tonight.
Yeah. After the show.
After the show. So I want to thank my guest. My guest has been Paul Belbusti. He is the, benevolent dictator of Mercy Choir, a New Haven-based band, among many other talents. We've been talking about music and food, and this has been Kitchen Sink on WNHHLP 103.5 FM. If you missed the episode, or if you really want to listen to it again and you don't know where to go, you can find us at SoundCloud or Facebook at WNHH Community Radio, or on Twitter at WNHHLP, that's one word. Or you can find my show by itself for free on iTunes at Kitchen Sink with Lucy Gellman. Paul, I want to thank you, and I'm going to play us out with some Mercy Choir that we have in the office.
Cool, thank you, Lucy.
I hope that was okay.
Oh, I hope it was okay for you.
Oh, yeah, it was fun.
Oh, cool. I kind of scrawled these recipes down at the last minute.
No, I had fun.
Good.
I just wanted this to be like a super chill episode.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, yeah.
It felt super chill to me.
Oh, good.
I was really happy to do it.
Oh, good. I was really happy to have you.
I'm always happy to leave work for an hour.
Sorry.
I hope your listeners enjoyed that.
I'm sure Lorelai was commenting.
Oh, good.